As they say, April showers bring May flowers, but this year it's a little different. We're getting May showers as well. But have no fear, we have something you can do indoors. Come to Alma, Wisconsin and head to the Castle Rock Museum and explore the medieval times and become your very own knight.
Castle Rock Museum is a collection of arms, armor, and art. It's a collection that illustrates the history and development of Western civilization from the time period starting with ancient Greece. And we have a number of exhibits that are authentic and genuine of that time period, and then carries us through the chronology of the development of Western civilization, going from Greece to Rome, then at the fall of Rome into the Dark Ages, then into the early feudal period, which was the time of the Crusades, then into the reawakening of culture and art in Europe, which is the Renaissance time period, and then ending in the 17th century, which was the time period when gunpowder started to become prevalent on the battlefield and changed the type of arms and armor that was being used.
How do you come up with all the different eras that you represent here?
Because that's what history came up with, History moved through all those different time periods. We see very definite changes in both culture, art, and the ability of persons to be able to manufacture and make different kinds of armor and things like that. In one respect, it's almost the history of ironwork. Iron was very, very difficult to work in the early years, and we see how they progressed and how they developed over a period of the years.
As a curator, how do you get all of the items?
I've basically acquired them over a period of about 35 years, probably. Most of them basically come originally from Europe. I was to Europe a number of times, went to a number of arms and armor auctions in international locations in Europe, primarily in London, which is a great marketplace of the world. The English officers brought back historical items from all over the world, and London is just the great center place for that. Also, I've learned about them at other different great auction centers. These are auction centers like Sotheby's, Christie's in England, Hermann Historica in Germany, Fischer in Switzerland, and other ones that are over in Europe. The paintings are reproductions. Every piece of arms or armor in the museum is genuine. And the scope that we are showing here today is equal to anything that you're going to be able to find in an exhibit if you go to any of the major museums in the United States or the world. We may be in a little town like Alma, but we've got a collection here that absolutely amazes many of the people that come here and visit, many of whom have gone through European museums, Metropolitan Museum in New York, and so on like that, and are really very, very, very impressed by the breadth and nature of our collection here.
Tell us the story of when you first started collecting stuff when you were 10 years old.
Well, I was always interested in history, and in my generation it seemed like everybody had collections of one kind or another. And one time when I was 10 years old and I was down in Winona, and I was along with my mother, and in those days you could just let a little 10-year-old boy wander all over the streets of a city without worrying about him. And my mother was visiting with her sister, and I was supposed to meet at the Candy Box Cafe. And I would haunt the 2nd Street antique shops. And Newman's was one of them, and Chicken Gus's was another one of them. And Chicken Gus, when I walked into there, would have several old firearms. One was a Civil War musket dated 1841, and I would water at the mouth over that, but he wanted $5 for it, which was a princely sum to me because my allowance was 5 cents every other day. However, he finally took sympathy on this young boy, and he finally made a deal with me. He agreed to sell it to me for $3. So I came home with this Civil War musket.
Do you guys rotate exhibits here, or is everything that's here is here year round, or?
You know, we don't rotate things as much just because we're a smaller museum and we like to have all the good stuff on display. You know, occasionally, but we are always changing out things. Gary is, you know, the museum is still acquiring new artifacts on a regular basis, and so the exhibits are still changing. We might take one helmet out and replace it with a better, more authentic one, or maybe we'll get another piece that's, you know, that we really want to highlight over another. So the exhibits are constantly changing. But we don't have temporary exhibits and things like that.
What is your favorite part about this museum?
And that's a question that I always hear. What's the favorite? And that's just like asking somebody, who's your favorite grandchild or who's your favorite daughter? If we look at any particular era in this cultural time period, and you say, what's your favorite in the Romans, for instance, then I can answer it. And if you say, what's your favorite in the Renaissance, then I can answer it. But usually it's a piece that has outstanding significance, either because it's very historically important, or else because it's very artistically and beautifully made.
What is your favorite era that is represented here?
Oh, I feel like I'm kind of like Gary on that one. You know, it's really hard to pick a favorite era here. I mean, there are so many great artifacts in the museum, so many great periods and things like that. So it's really kind of hard. But you know, even when I was a little boy, I had a fascination with knights and armor and King Arthur and all that kind of stuff. So there's a little kid in me that just gets pretty excited getting to handle chainmail and plate armor and swords and stuff like that. So maybe that's my favorite.
Why is it important to teach all this history to people in this day and age?
It's important because in this day and age, I find that many of the younger people that go through the museum have very, very little background as far as history is concerned. And history is simply something that repeats over and over and over. And there is so much we can learn from the development, the mistakes, and the cultural moves forward that history taught us in the past. For instance, the Roman Empire lasted 900 years and was probably the longest lasting empire in the history of the world. Yet the average great civilization rarely lasts more than 200 years. The United States is now going well over 200 years, and there's much we can learn by studying the history of the prior civilizations and cultures and why they are no longer with us.
What is something you would tell somebody who's watching this, why they should make the trip to Alma?
You know, I think they should make the trip here because they're going to see something they may never have a chance to see again. You know, there are very few big arms and armor collections like this in the country. The next nearest one is the Art Institute in Chicago, which is quite a drive. And you know, we've got stuff from the ancient Greeks, the ancient Romans, all the way up through the 1600s. And it's stuff that they're just not going to see very often. And like I said, we've got stuff here that's hundreds of years old, some stuff that's thousands of years old. It's definitely worth the trip.
Because they can see more here, and they can see it more easily and have it interpreted more easily and better than they could by taking a trip to Vienna, which is a great museum, to the British Museum, which is a great museum. But these great museums have their artifacts spread all over several different floors. The art is never with the piece, so you can't see how it was being used, because the art's in the art department, the armor's in the armor department. Here we bring it all together in one nice package where everybody can see it together.
The museum is open 1 to 4, Friday and Saturdays year-round. And then we're open on Sundays as well from June through August. And then we're open other hours by appointment. So if people have relatives in town and they want to come on a Tuesday, they just need to call the museum and set something up. Same thing with school groups. You know, we take church groups, Red Hat ladies, you know, school groups, anything like that through. So they just need to contact us here and we'll set something up. Website is just castlerockmuseum.com, and then we're on Facebook as well. We do about a dozen events or so a year, and those are listed on Facebook and on the website. Our biggest event is our Fire in the Shire event that we have the second Saturday in June every year. And for that, we actually close down the street in front of the museum, and they do sword fighting demos. If you've ever seen someone sword fighting on the street in front of a castle, it's really kind of a neat thing to see. And the whole town has embraced the event. So we'll have belly dancers on Main Street, and the shops will all be doing special activities, the shops and the restaurants and all that. And we'll, you know, this year we'll have a guy up here that'll actually be breathing fire and swallowing swords that came down from one of the Renaissance fairs. We even do a little nightly parade from downtown to the castle, led by a horse, an armored horse. So it's really a cool event. So if you have a chance to get out here on the second Saturday in June, that's the best day to visit the museum, because there'll be stuff going here, and all over town. So.
When you have school groups come in, what is one thing that you hear nonstop from them after they're done taking their tour?
Well, you know, they get pretty excited, you know. You don't see arms and armor collections like this very often. So most school groups that get here, unless they've been here with their family, they've probably never seen ancient medieval arms and armor before. So it's really kind of a wow moment when they get here. And then often with kids, with families, and during school groups, we'll take them downstairs into the lower level of the museum and into the theater. And we'll actually put chainmail on them and a surcoat and a chainmail coif, and give them a sword to hold, and their eyes will just light up. They get so excited about it. In fact, even some of the adults that we put this stuff on get very, very excited, and it's just like a light bulb goes off in their head, and they just can't stop smiling. You know, they're having so much fun. So it's just really neat to see that, to see how the visitors, you know, interact with everything, and they're just amazed that this amazing collection is in this little bitty town, you know, along the Mississippi,
Yes.
and that is amazing to them. So. And then we'll put a surcoat on you. Do you have a preference for color?
I do not.
Yeah, actually, that'll probably work. There you go, and you're not done yet. Something on your head. So you always have to have protection on top. This is what I'm talking about when I say people can't help but smile when they put this stuff on. All right, so you're gonna close your eyes for just a second while I go over this on here. Kind of a Joan of Arc look here. There you go.
If you too want to become a knight, come on down to Castle Rock Museum and put on the chainmail, get a sword, and test it out.
If you don't know what Property Brothers Buying and Selling is, where have you been all your life? I handle house hunts. Jonathan handles design. No!
It's all good. We're gonna fix it, but it's messed up. It's all good.
Oh! It takes two to tango. Come on in. This is your house.
All new Property Brothers Buying and Selling, Wednesday night at 9 on HGTV.
WNB has been partnering with HBC for over 20 years. Having fast, reliable internet and phone service is a critical piece in our ability to provide exceptional service. Partnering with HBC gives me the peace of mind knowing that our services are always available to our clients when they need it. I would absolutely recommend HBC. As our business has been growing and changing, we know that we can rely on HBC to meet our changing technology needs.
Call today to get started with HBC's family of services.
Friday nights, the road to riches can be bumpy.
We have a lot of
work to do.
We got some leaky roof syndrome.
The Texas Flip and Move teams buy houses for pennies on the dollar.
Yes! Sold it! $700!
Move them and flip them.
Coming through!
All these walls are going.
See how these homes are hauling in the profits.
Awesome. This is a really amazing place.
This is my dream home.
All new Texas Flip and Move. Friday night at 9 on DIY Network.
Hi, I'm Melanie Messman, Advertising Account Executive at HBC. HBC offers local businesses the ability to place their advertising message into top-rated TV series, sports, and news programming, allowing your business to target viewers in 30 communities. With a locally produced TV commercial, we can show the audience what your business has to offer. Together, we can create an advertising message that brings new customers into your business. Call me to discuss how we can get your business on TV today.
Be sure to check out US Golf TV, where you are going to see golf products that you have never seen before. You're also going to see golf tips from some of the leading instructors around the country that are truly changing the way people are teaching the game and challenging the status quo. Also, you're going to see fitness tips that are revolutionizing the way PGA Tour pros are training their body and swinging the golf club. If you want something different, if you're looking for some new information, US Golf TV has it. Be sure to check your local listings. US Golf TV, we've got you covered.
Up next on our history episode, we go somewhere here in Winona and somewhere that is near and dear to my own heart, the Polish Museum.
We started the place because when the Polish people came to Winona, they came in the 1870s. 6,000 of them came in that decade, in the 1870s, from 15, 20 miles in diameter in Poland to 20, 25 miles in diameter in this Winona area. So Winona, Dodge, and Pine Creek are the three main cities of Polish people that are of the northern Polish community of Kashubia. K-A-S-H-U-B-I-A. It's just a small group of Poland. We're all Polish people, but it's a small group. We were occupied by Germany when they came here. There wasn't any Poland, and they came here speaking no English. With no money, they came to try to make a place for themselves. They wanted land, they wanted a job, they wanted to work. And they got here, and it took almost 100 years, but they found a place for themselves. So everybody in Winona that's Polish would be basically from this area of Kashubia, northern part of Poland. I'm at the college. We decided we're going to have a party for the maintenance people and all their relatives. If you remember, we came from such a small area in Poland that almost everybody that's Polish knows everybody else that's Polish, or they're related to them. So that little group stayed here until about the time I was at the college. At that point, they started intermarrying and moving away from town. Winona didn't have an awful lot to offer, so they drifted away. Most of the kids that were born of Polish parents were going to college, starting to go to college, and there weren't enough jobs here to keep anybody busy. Right now there would be, but not then. So I noticed that in these books that I started to talk about, Who's Who in Winona County, not one Polish person in it. At the Historical Society, they had a book called Famous Homes in Winona. There wasn't a Polish home in it. And I said, there also was nothing about Poland or about Polish people in the Historical Society. So I said, we're going to have to do something about that. So we're not in competition with them at all. We're just trying to make up the slack and preserve the things that would have been thrown away. We were at that point on the third generation removed from Poland, and that's the generation that cleans house and says, I can't read Polish, out goes the book. I can't use this, whatever it was that my grandma had, out it goes. I no longer wash my face with lye soap, out it goes. We don't need that cooking kettle, out it goes. We don't need that big trunk. So anyway, that was happening. And that's how, incidentally, I got this library in the back. A lot of the books came from dumpsters because people would call and say, we cleaned the attic, threw it all in the dumpster in the back, and they come and pick it up at 3. If you're here before, you can have it. So I'd go pick it up, and now we have 8 books in this library that are available only in 2 other places in the world. And we have 5 books back there in the library that are found no place else in the world because they were considered, you know, useless. Nobody could use them. They were brought here from the old country. And but that makes it a little bit on the valuable side, even though nobody still can use them because none of us speak Polish anymore.
Why is it important that we learn about our Polish heritage?
You don't know who you are without learning about your heritage, where you come from, what you're like. So I've got a little phrase over at the annex in the last column of this mural that we built, 160-foot mural. I think it might be the biggest mural in the state of Minnesota. It's a photographic mural of Winona, where we come from in Poland, how we got here, migration, where you left from, where you had to renounce your citizenship, where you got to, the first places we settled, the parishes you lived in, the people you met, and then it goes into where you built your home and where you lived, and the other side, social life, baseball teams, different social clubs they had, and all the way to the fact that Winona wasn't big enough for 6,000 people.
How have you attained all these artifacts? You said that you got the books from the dumpsters and some donations, but how have you gotten like the medals, the armor, the photographs, the letters?
And during that time and afterwards, people started to bring things in. Remember, 3rd generation, they're cleaning the house. We want to clean the attic because we're going to sell the house. We're going to move to Goodview. You know, we're going uphill. We're going to move to the Windcrest. That's even better yet. So, but then they had to sell the house. And so as they would sell it, they'd clean the place out. I'd get these books. I'd get dresses and costumes and trunks like that. Costumes came from the Twin Cities, but those, you know, were also from people who were in Winona, left Winona to get a job up there, 3rd generation. When they moved there, they weren't going to take all this old stuff along with them. That all stayed behind. You want it, come pick it up. So I got it 2 ways. I'd go with a little pickup I had, pick it up, or they would bring it here and drop it up at the front door. We had 30 or 40 cardboard boxes. I think I have pictures of them someplace. And you take out a wedding dress, you take out books, you take out toys that kids had, you take out dresses and purses and shoes and things that they had that were very Polish. And we had no place to go with them. It's going to take 10 years to clean this place up. So we would get one spot cleaned. The wall got cleaned. It took 2 years to do the ceiling, just to clean the ceiling, not put the new one in. So we'd get that done. And now where are we going to store these boxes and the things that are in them? So we'd get one place finished and we'd put pictures up. We'd get another place finished and we would build a shelf there in a cupboard like the one behind you. And you could put little things in there. I have no idea where that shelf came from. I brought it in here. It obviously doesn't fit here, but it holds all these little things that we got 30 years ago. And if you turned around, there's a sprinkler at the bottom. That's what that is. It looks like a piece of wood shavings, but it's for holy water. You dump it in the holy water and sprinkle your kids at night when they're going to bed. 1st generation, 2nd generation did that. 3rd generation was starting to say, what is that? 4th generation, those would be thrown away. I'm very happy I have those. It's probably 3 of the last ones that ever existed in Winona. Their sick call sets were big wooden things like the one in the corner. it's got two little candlestick holders sticking out. That's a sick call set. It's got a drawer in it for a silver plate, for a spoon, a silver spoon, a cruet, and a holy water jug. So when the priest came, he could bless the room. If he gave the person communion, he could use the spoon to give the person a sip of water if they were that sick or weak. And lastly, for anointing somebody with the holy oils, he had to have a piece of lemon to rub his fingers on to cut the oil. So that's what the silver dish is for. And every home had that in their bedroom for the first 3 generations. You couldn't find one in the East End home now if you went to all the homes in town. And that's the kind of stuff that was being thrown away. Historical Society didn't seem to want it. First of all, they couldn't understand it because it's in Polish. So I can't blame them. I mean, what is this? Right behind you are 3 babies' gowns for baptism. You see the top thing looks like a collar? That isn't a collar. That's a waistband you'd wrap around the baby because godfathers all work for the sawmill. They're rough and tough and big, rough hands, all marked up. Well, if they pick the baby up for baptism, you know, they're going to injure the baby's back. So they would wrap this around the baby twice to tighten its stomach up, and the gown would fit all the way to the floor. Then there was a separate part that was a shirt and a cap on the bottom. So, no, that's how we got the articles that came in.
So do you know any Polish?
I go to see the mayor, for instance. You know, he's a friend, and I know his family. But I'll walk up to him and say, "Jak tu idzie, Knopia?" That's one of the words I used for my Greek teacher who said he knew Polish. And he would always say, "Breza, that's a mistake. Do not use that." Well, it wasn't a mistake. It's Kashubian. And with the mayor who speaks Kashubian, oh, he's right at home. And he laughs like silly because Jak tu idzie, Knopia means, "How are you, little boy?" The mayor. So, yeah, we have good times with the Polish we have. And we're working at a big event for 2020. We're going to try to have them come here and present things like their genealogical records. Their teachers will come from the colleges and give conferences at Winona State. We're going to have events that'll involve music, entertainment, food, and hopefully we can get this all funded and get it taken care of so they come here for 2020, and we'll be able to finally let them see what happened. We go there to find out where we come from, and they should come here to see what we turned into. We've been gone now for 6 generations. Well, if one person came here, a great-grandfather's brother, never heard from him again, and you find out over here he's got 100 pages of relatives. His progeny went on, and that's kind of what's happened. So instead of 5,000 people now, you got not only Winona, you got Dodge and Pine Creek, but you got Stevens Point, you got and Warsaw, North Dakota, you got all these places that are all Polish people that started out here. Because we're open every day except Sunday from 10 until 3. So you can come here, visit any time you want. It belongs to the people of Winona.
Thank you for joining me on today's episode as we did a little history tour. We went over to Alma, Wisconsin, where we went to Castle Rock Museum, where I put on some chainmail and held a sword. How cool is that? We also stayed here in Winona and we went to the Polish Museum, where I got to learn about my heritage. There's many more activities that you guys can do indoors and outdoors, so stay tuned for the rest of Season 2 of Explore the Outdoors. Until next time, I'm Alyssa Kozak.